Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be covering, I think it's going to be kind of fun, but these are 3 bottles that I picked up in Kentucky that are exclusive to Kentucky. Now they're not top shelf anything, right? These are like really accessible. I'm talking like $20 and under, cheap bottles, but if you're in Kentucky, are any of these worth picking up? Let's find out. Some of these are just kind of cool to have. I mean, to have anything that says Old Fitzgerald on it is just kind of cool, you know what I mean? And these are fun bottles in terms of just like heritage and you know, the distilleries and their stories. So let's go through them and just see if any of them are maybe worth picking up if you're ever in that neck of the woods. I mean, these are legitimate bottom shelf bourbons, $20 and under, but I also love a good deal. I may have some really expensive bottles on my shelf, but if I can have a sipper that I can reach for anytime and not feel guilty about because it only cost me 15 bucks and it's good, I'm gonna want to have it on my shelf. So let's start with the Old Fitz. So here we are. This is the Old Fitz. This is Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. It is non-age stated, and the reason we're starting with it is because it's the lowest proof on the table. This is 40% ABV, aka 80 proof. Pretty low. And by pretty low, I mean it's the bare minimum that you can call it. You know, Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. You lose a proof point, and you can't call it that anymore. Now, the mash bill on this is not disclosed, but internal reports say this is probably pretty close to 70-20-10, 70% corn, 20% wheat, and 10% malted barley. Now this is technically a Heaven Hill product, but it hasn't been a Heaven Hill product for very long in the grand scheme of things. It used to be under Diageo and under a different name even before Diageo acquired them, but the Old Fitzgerald brand has only belonged to Heaven Hill since 1999. It is a screw top, which makes my life pretty easy. Now, I'm going to admit I have low expectations for this. I mean, I am interested because it is a wheater, but it is only 80 proof. So I'm not expecting this to blow me away or anything, but we'll see. On the nose, I get like sweet tarts, you know, powdery candy, a little oaky and a little spice, kind of peppery, but it's pretty delicate. There's not like anything big and bold that assaults your nostrils, nothing like that. Let's try it. Very light oak. Sweetness right up front, tapers off quickly, transitions into kind of like mint and spice realms. Very short finish, which is oak and a little bit of vanilla sweetness. And it's gone, like it's gone. It doesn't linger. Second sip, I feel like I get even less sweetness, mostly young oak, a little peppery, and the finish goes away pretty quickly, but it does kind of leave like a sweet sugary coating in your mouth afterwards. That is fairly unremarkable. I didn't have high expectations, but fairly unremarkable. The more I drink it, the more like watery it gets. Let's move on. I don't want to do the 2 Heaven Hill ones back to back, so I'm gonna skip on over to Old Bardstown. Hey, real quick, if you enjoy the content, hey, could you do me a favor? 2 things. 1, hit the like button. The more likes a video gets, the more YouTube tries to get it in front of more people. So it's a great free way to support the creators that you vibe with. Hit that button, and I'll get more views because of you. Second thing, feel free to hit the subscribe button to see new content as I post it. I'm posting a lot more regularly recently, so hopefully you enjoy that. Anyways, this is bottled in bond, so we're jumping up in proof pretty significantly, 20 proof points, but just up to that baseline of 100 because it's bottled in bond. So it's always going to be 100 proof under that name. Pretty cool little old-timey label on this. I kind of like the bottling on it. So this is distilled by WIllet. You know, WIllet makes some pretty freaking good products, and they're highly sought after. In fact, on my trip to Kentucky, I had the wonderful luxury of sipping on some WIllet Purple Top 9-year-old bourbon. It was incredible. This is just freaking delicious. But again, you're looking at basically 20 bucks right here. It is noticeably darker in color than the Old Fitz was. Let's try it. Oh, wow. That nose is wildly different than the Old Fitz, which isn't too much of a surprise. A different mash bill. You're looking at 72% corn, 13% rye, 15% malted barley is the mash bill on this one. Like a cherry lifesaver, you know, cherry candy up front, a hard cherry candy on the nose. Amaretto, sticky molasses, you know, sticky sugary stuff, you know. The nose on that is actually, I mean, it's kind of nice. I kind of like that. Let's try it. Yeah, cherry and amaretto up front. Kind of a young oak and vanilla quality that kind of transitions to for the finish. Just a lot of oak and vanilla. Doesn't hang on for too long. It's definitely longer than the Old Fitz on the finish though. But I really like that cherry amaretto playful bourbon vibe on the palate. All things considered, that's not bad. Yeah, I can see that being a fun novelty bottle that you'd want to have on your shelf somewhere. A little Old Bardstown from WIllet. Yeah, I mean, that's leaps and bounds better than the Old Fitz, in my opinion, for my palate. Last but not least, let's go with JTS Brown. This is kind of funny because this is named after JTS Brown. It's named after the guy in Brown-Forman, right? Brown/Forman. But it is no longer a Brown-Forman product. It's named after the guy, but it's now actually owned by Heaven Hill. Heaven Hill went and acquired a number of brands specifically after the fires that destroyed their own facilities, their own distillery, and a lot of their warehouses. And instead of shutting down shop, they needed to continue producing, getting product out there for people. So they purchased other brands that were already in the works and just kind of took over them while they've been rebuilding. So, I mean, I was just at the Heaven Hill property there in Bardstown, and it was a great experience. I got to bottle my own Larceny. I bottled this. Barrel proof. This is 128 proof. It was actually really good. Even got the Dramguard name on it. Look at that. Isn't that cool? But I bottled that myself. They're at Heaven Hill. But they do not distill there. They distill at I think the Bernheim, property. Now, I will note, regarding the Old Fitzgerald, I will note something. It is rumored that this bottle is going to be getting retired soon, and that they're going to cease, basically stop production of the Old Fitz, the base, this bottle specifically, because they're just going to want to transition away from that and get people on board with the Larceny product, which is also a wheated bourbon. Now, that has not been verified, but that is the rumor. So I didn't really care for this bottle, but if you're in Kentucky and you're like, hey, I think I just want to have that on my shelf, it's super cheap. So, I mean, who am I to tell you not to buy a $15 bottle of bourbon?
Obviously, don't go and do that, please.
Now, you do whatever you like.
We can't condone anything of the sort.
No, we can't. Live!
But anyways, we're on to the JTS Brown here. Let's talk about that. It is non-age stated, but the website says 4 years. This is a $15 bottle at MSRP. The mash bill is 78% corn, 12% barley, and then 10% rye. It's a little different there. Let's try it. Not a bad color on it. Again, this is bottled in bond, so it's going to be 100 proof. The nose is brown sugar and oak. Not overly complex, but brown sugar and oak, and I like how both of those things smell, so it's not a bad nose at all. There's really not a lot of complexity in there. Maybe just a hint of honey, but mostly it's brown sugar and a light oak. Let's try it. Now, similarly on the palate, it's a combination of two basic profiles. It's sweet and it's tannic. It's tannic from the young oak in there. It's sweet from that, high corn in the mash. Lots of brown sugar. Not those deeper molassesy flavors that you often get on an older product. But altogether, it's not a bad sip. Very simple. If you like simple, you're like, hey, I like brown sugar and I like tannic oak. There you go. That's this. Very simple. Yeah. So if I were to rank these from best to worst today, I think my order would look like this. Boom. Old Bardstown takes first place. I really like that, the amaretto cherry vibes we got off that. I thought that was actually a banger sip at the price point. Can't really beat that at the price point. JTS Brown, simple, but good. Old Fitz, pretty unremarkable, pretty forgettable. But again, like I said, if you're worried about them phasing this bottle out and you want to grab one while you're there, you may as well do it. So for my bottom shelf Kentucky exclusives, I think the be-all end-all here is, hey, if you see a bottle of Old Bardstown from WIllet, pick it up. Not a bad bottle to have. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by the channel today. It does mean a lot to me. I appreciate your support and your viewership. Feel free to leave me a comment. I love to talk with you folks and see what you guys are thinking and what you're feeling. I know I have a tendency when I watch YouTube videos about whiskey, I watch and I'm like, oh, that's interesting, and then I leave. I should stick around and just leave a comment more often because it really helps the poster understand what you vibe with, what you like watching, and how you feel about the content that they're making. So leave me a comment. I'd love to read from you. Cheers! Big shout out to my Patreon supporters. Love you guys. Thanks for funding the channel. May you live richly and get better with age. We'll catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.